Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The House of Representatives voted 332 to 95 Wednesday to table a resolution to impeach Donald Trump as Democrats continue to fracture over whether to seek the removal of the president ahead of the 2020 election. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's resisted impeachment calls, focusing instead on congressional investigations. Wednesday's vote came a day after Texas Congressmember Al Green introduced articles of impeachment against President Trump, Green's third such attempt. Ahead of Wednesday's vote, Green cited Trump's racist attack against four progressive congresswomen of color, freshman representatives Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar.
This president has demonstrated that he's willing to yell fire in a crowded theater. And we have seen what can happen to people when bigotry is allowed to have a free reign. Look at what happened in Charlottesville. Blood and soil, they screamed. They screamed that Jews will not replace us. And one of them took a person's life who was exercising her constitutional right to protest. We cannot wait. As we wait, we risk having the blood of somebody on our hands. And it could be a member of Congress.
On Wednesday, President Trump doubled down in his racist attacks on the four progressive congresswomen of color, calling them hate.
What's up, gamers? So yesterday I made a little video talking about YouTube search algorithms when you look up Ben Shapiro, Andrew Yang on YouTube. So it does appear that this is more directed towards Ben Shapiro than Andrew Yang, but it does harm Andrew Yang because it makes it much harder for Ben Shapiro fans to find.
Accountability for the seat, the more functioning were completely starving. We definitely feel like messing things up as well.
Listen, nobody, I lost my chocolate.
But you're messing it up all alone. You're right. Something's where they don't belong. How boring for the sea level.
So when I noticed censorship since 2016, and I try to search for YouTube censorship, almost all and only what I see, and I'll show you right now in real time, are complaints by Republicans about YouTube censorship of Republicans. So if that was true, why would I only see videos from Republicans complaining about YouTube censorship? And yet, what I see the majority of the censorship is, and I just showed you, Andrew Yang, Mike Gravel. My opinion is it's not a bias against the GOP. It's a GOP bias and narrative against China and against Democrats and against truth.
They're coming for us, my friends. YouTube is going to take away your favorite channels, clearly spreading the truth. The earth is flat? It is. You better be careful on that Alaskan cruise with Nana. Don't let her fall off the earth. You killed Nana!
It's not a joke. It's real. That's for sure. But I think the bias is more specifically, now there may be a bias against Republicans, but I think the Republicans are using it to force Google and YouTube to have a bias across the board. They shouldn't have a bias at all, but I definitely see a bias against secular talk for that matter. Let me pull up secular talk and show you how many videos are not visible on my liked playlist, as well as I showed you in real time Andrew Yang, Democracy Now. I think Democracy Now, no, I don't know, did Democracy Now come up? No, Democracy Now was censored.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The House of Representatives voted 332 to 95 Wednesday to table a resolution to impeach Donald Trump.
And what I see, so what I'm trying to say is I see more censorship about impeaching Donald Trump, about any narrative that questions the control of the GOP and their pity party and their narrative that they're the ones that are still somehow being controlled and manipulated. And of course, when that narrative doesn't work, they control and they manipulate to get their way and say, no, this is what we're doing for the best of the country.
At the end of last week, we learned that Secular Talk was blacklisted.
So let's do this in real time. Let's see if this shows up. I haven't
swore up
seen
and
this
down,
video yet,
to swear up and down. No.
but I
we're
definitely
watching
agree,
that
and
on
I've seen the
Rockford.
same thing that Kyle is talking
But
about.
we know because David Pakman of the David Pakman Show.
I've seen it for sure,
got a letter
absolutely,
from somebody who's an
100%.
advertiser.
But let's see
He
if
said,
it
"Look, I've been
happens
doing this
now.
forever, and I always
Okay,
support
there.
the advertisers
Never
on
seen
the
this
channel,
video,
so,
never liked this video.
myself, David Pakman, Humanist
So
Reporter,
now,
I think Ben Dixon
if this
Show,
one's
a bunch of,
visible, then at least this video got
And
through,
she
and that's
says,
good
"Look,
news. Let's see if it got
I
through.
noticed that even though I'm specifically buying ads for you guys,
Did.
nothing was coming up.
Great,
So I called
fabulous.
the people who do the ads.
Good
and
news.
They were like, yeah, we don't know what's up with that. So think about it. An advertiser says, I want ads specifically on those channels, and they don't run. So that means YouTube is saying, thanks, but no thanks.
But there really are others that are not making it. Let me see if I can show you another example in real time. I think this one didn't make
It's
it.
basically saying if you think there are other countries, and if you sit in the committee, I'm on several committees with all four of the members of
Let's
the
try
so-called
again.
squad,
See
and
if
they're
it
constantly complaining about America. That's one of the
if it comes
differences
through.
between conservatives. We're proud of America.
So this one didn't make it. But let me show you in real time. So I just refreshed the page. You can see there's no like visible that I put on there. Now there's 5.1 thousand likes on there. So let's give it a little refresh one more time. I'm going to even refresh my liked playlist, and as you can see, that video is not there. I haven't liked it yet. I mean, I unliked it and I refreshed it. Let's refresh the liked playlist. Give it a little time just in case it's a slow, glitchy system, which I don't think it is, honestly. I think this is an intentional censorship or shadow banning.
Comer of Kentucky was grilled by a CNN host here, and without even really trying, the CNN host exposes the deep
No,
hypocrisy
there could
of
really
the
be a lot
when it
of
comes to
reasons
Ilhan Omar
why
in
these
New
are
York
not
City.
making it, but
So, I mean,
they should be
you'll see.
visible.
Comer gets caught in a logic chokehold, and then his brain malfunctions.
Do you want to see a sitting president say, you should leave this country, in effect, if you disagree with my view of it? You must hate this country. And, to be fair, falsely claim that they're pro-terrorist. There's nothing in the comments there that support the president's attack on them. Is that a vision of America that you support?
What I think the president was trying to apply is if you're not proud of America, if you do not want to stand when the national anthem's being played, if you're ashamed of the way that our country's operated, you're more than welcome to leave the country. I don't think there's anything racist about that.
The president said in a 2017 interview, when he was confronted about Vladimir Putin, he compared the U.S. to Russia. This was with Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly said Putin is a killer. The president said, I'm quoting him, there are lots of killers. We have a lot of killers. Well, you think our country is so innocent? That's the sitting president of the United States comparing America to an authoritarian country, Russia. That's criticism. Does he hate America for making that comment?
I don't think that anyone in America would agree with 100% of what President Trump says. I don't think anyone in America would agree with 100% of what any of the
And what's
Democrats.
funny is that's one line I actually agree with Donald Trump on. I mean, it's true that everybody doesn't have to agree all the time, but if you're paying attention, you realize Trump is only saying what he needs to say in the moment to get elected. And then these other Republicans are defending it. It's all politics, obviously, and they're defending it because it suits them. They're doing the same thing Trump does, just, as individuals.
Say the bottom line is the root of this interview is the president a racist? And just last week, Ocasio-Cortez implied that Nancy Pelosi was a racist. I don't think Nancy Pelosi's a racist, nor do I think that Donald Trump's a racist.
And my opinion is the bottom line is Trump needs to be impeached for his criminal offenses. The list goes on since before he was elected. And the thing is, now we're talking about racism. Well, that's a problem too. But notice how the narrative never really focuses on, the very important things like high crimes and misdemeanors that the Trump administration and the GOP is guilty of.
Think that
They'll take the slight loss of criticism about racism, but they won't take the obvious impeachable offense loss because it's all politics. They're going to say whatever they're going to say to control the narrative and maintain the power and steal the money from the American people and tell the lie that they're giving money to the American people.
Are the comments?
I do not take the comments as being racist. I think the
Divisive,
is basically saying if you think there are other countries, and if you sit in the committee, I'm on several committees with all four of the members of the so-called squad, and they're constantly complaining about America. That's one big difference between conservatives. We're proud of America.
And they're not complaining about America. They're complaining about the GOP and Donald Trump, just like me. And just like actually many Republicans. To give them credit, that is the only credit they deserve, is when they are wise enough to stand as individuals for the truth and for what's best for America, even if it goes against party lines. But the Democrats need to do that too, and they do sometimes in the context of standing up against Nancy Pelosi. But they also need to be careful because sometimes that's really playing into the Republicans' hands. And sometimes, in the context of the narrative control, it's just simply shifting blame away from the Republicans towards the Democrats. So when the friendly fire is so intense, the Democrats, I think they know this, need to keep sight on the important policy issues more than the infighting. And the real problem, which in many ways, but not always, is the GOP and the Republicans. The GOP, the Republicans, Donald Trump, and the current administration, sometimes including people like Nancy Pelosi. And the scary thing is where that reaches into YouTube censorship. And is it that YouTube is hacked by Republicans, pressured by Republicans, obviously, or, when I see that I posted one comment but two come up, is the YouTube hacked by somebody? Or is YouTube actually doing this? Or is it a glitch? But I've seen so much of this, so much of the time, it can't be a glitch since 2016. So I'm going to like this video, and we'll see if it comes up in real time in my liked playlist. Let's give it a minute.
This is a president who was elected. He made many very public criticisms of the way he saw America today. I mean, that was his essential message in 2016. Can't you and others make a distinction between criticizing the situation in the country from somehow saying you dislike the country or hate the country? I mean, this is the nature of politics for 230 some odd years.
I honestly do not think the tweets were racist. I think that the media has overblown the tweets.
What happened to your brain? That was just a total malfunction. No, they had no response. And the crazy thing is, he never thought about that. That never occurred to him until that point was made right in front of his face. Never occurred to him before. So he said repeatedly, well, hey, if you're not proud of the U.S., if you don't stand for the national anthem, if you don't like the way the country functions, if you're constantly complaining about America, why don't you get out?
And that's what YouTube is saying when they shadow ban this type of video, in my opinion. And you can go and watch it. It's a new video, relatively new. So let's see if it comes up. on my liked playlist. Nope. Nope. This one does not come up. So I'm policing YouTube, and every time I see this, and I see this every single time I come on YouTube, it is a massive problem. When I see the things that are censored, shadow banned, because I can't see what's censored. You know, then I make a comment, this video is not visible. And quite often there's some interesting comments that people write back to me. Some people disagree. Some people agree. I wrote a long response to... Well, now that's something I've seen too. I wrote a long response to this guy Corbin, and it vanished. Oh wait, oh, it's not just... Yeah, there it is actually. Because he was saying, oh, no, it's not happening. Let me give you the accurate... Oh, he replied, okay, well... Anyway, you know, things change on the messages constantly. This is what I was... He said the video is not shadow banned. So that's what I disagreed with, because I've seen that it is. In fact, that's why I posted this. I wouldn't have posted this unless it wasn't obviously not showing up in my liked playlist. And that's what I'm calling shadow banning. And I did reply. I think one of my replies was deleted, but here's one that did go through. I'm going to read what he said in real time. Oh wait, that's not the same guy. Anyway, yeah, I like Warbles On a lot. Yeah, the guy that disagreed that it was shadow banning didn't reply. So, anyways, and it's not just political videos, but quite a few political videos. Here's one that was shadow banned here. And it was this one that was shadow banned.
Ignorance about Africa, but we can learn. Now, what I want to talk about actually has been the attitude that I have actually heard quite frequently coming from people in the diaspora, a lot of Black Americans, just kind of their defensiveness to engaging with Africa, traveling to Africa, learning about it, and so on and so forth. And I think the biggest thing at the root of it is ignorance. And I think actually it's quite embarrassing for someone to admit that they are ignorant to something. Ignorance simply means that you don't have knowledge. It doesn't mean that
And
you
why would
are
such
a
an
stupid person.
intelligent
It doesn't mean
video
that you
be
lack
shadow
capacity. It doesn't mean
banned?
any of those things. It means that
I guess
you
it scares
simply don't have knowledge.
somebody that an
So if
African
I
woman
was
is
to
so
speak about,
smart.
I don't know how to speak Chinese language, for instance. I'm ignorant to Chinese culture.
That they want others to lead by. And you know, if they don't want, oh God, this is so, I think it's an obvious statement what I'm making. I don't need to keep talking about it because it's, you know, sometimes the point is, what's the point of keep talking about it? I'm not censoring, but I'm self-censoring. Self-censorship is better than censoring somebody else. So let me let a little of this video play because I'm not trying to censor. This is my video that I'm making, and I'm highlighting some of the other videos. You can go watch the entire video here. But let me let a little bit more play.
This is where I want to plug in my specific mentality on it, okay? The same way non-black people emulate black people, the same way that they study us, the same way that they learn how to, mimic us and copy our culture. If blacks from the diaspora want to begin to do that with their own people around the world, if they want to begin to invest, they can. So what that means is, yes, maybe at this moment you are ignorant to Africa. You have no knowledge and it makes you feel uncomfortable, okay? Furthermore, if you're coming from America, you think that you're in the best country there is. Even though, if you want to be honest with yourself, you realize that you're not getting treated the way that someone of privilege would be getting treated in your Western environment, okay? What that means is, guys, in short, you will have to apply yourself, okay? You will have to take some time. You will have to make an investment to learn things that you don't know. There's nothing wrong with admitting, hey.
And that's one thing that's great about YouTube, but when there's censorship, it interrupts that possibility for education and manipulates the narrative, which ruins the truth in many ways that otherwise a person may be honestly trying to learn about. So similarly, if I'm talking overly much about subjects that don't matter because the narrative has pulled me to that, I'm wasting time when I could be talking or learning about something that's more relative.
I don't have knowledge. Okay, I've not been given access to knowledge, but I have the desire to learn. The same way, big shout outs to all my black women that's watching this video. Please let me get the likes for this, okay? Black women, we see it all the time with these white broads, okay? When they want our men, they learn how to start cooking their native food. They start wearing the African prints. They start learning the African music. They start studying the dances. They start, going on Google and learning about their home countries and where they come from and, start trying to speak a little bit. They hone in, okay? They train for the opportunity to get in there. A lot of times people that are very superficial people will be impressed by this kind of stuff. Me, I'm going to ask the question, what do they want? Because I understand there's something they want. That's why they have put in immense effort to pursue something, okay? But the superficial person is going to be flattered by this person trying to emulate them, and they're going to see it as effort. Like, wow, this white lady, she really likes me. She learned how to cook my food. She wears my native clothing. She started listening to my music and going with me to functions. She started, she's trying to learn about Nigeria, for instance. She's trying to learn about Ghana. She's trying to learn about Senegal, whatever, okay? We can do the same thing, guys. I just demonstrated it to you less than 2 weeks ago when I was in Ghana. Okay, I'm always telling you guys, I am not a Ghanaian. Okay, I'm not a Ghanaian. I have built that network over time. I use social media to do it. I have used, I have built relationships rather in the community that I lived in America and then now here in the UK with the Ghanaian diaspora that has been invaluable to me on my travels around the world. What I'm saying is, guys, I invested. I invested, and you see just how beneficial that has been for me. We, as those in the diaspora, we are playing catch up because there is a lot of information that we have never been exposed to if we've grown up in the West. Okay, there's a lot of information that we have not been exposed to growing up in the West. If we are young adults, okay, in our 20s and 30s or older, for instance, we are going to have to apply ourselves to get this knowledge, guys. We are going to have to, I'm tired of people, hearing people from the diaspora, well, you know, what are they doing for us? What have they done for us? Why should we have to go here? Why should we have to go there? Do you people not realize that this is the time of a pioneer? Okay? This is the time when things are being created and innovated. This is a crucial time. The channels are not created because it's our responsibility to create them. This is the first time that continental Africans in the diaspora has been able to communicate and connect without interference through.
But censorship is in fact interference. You know, and yes, there's fortunately still some open and free lines of communication, but we really, really need to understand that that's one of the most crucial issues. And I'm not trying to lose that debate. If the Republicans agree that censorship is a problem, great. If African Americans agree and the people of the world agree that censorship is a problem, great. Let's stand together and solve that problem so that everybody can have a free and fair internet and a free and fair communication. Because the beauty of direct democracy is knowing who you're talking to, being able to share your opinion with others and have them share their opinion with you. The problem with representative government, it's like the telephone game. If I'm speaking for somebody else, trying to represent what that person wants or thinks or tries to say in their own way, it's like the telephone game. It changes, you know, the telephone game, somebody says a word, whispers it into somebody else's ear, and they pass that word on to the next person. You know, ignorance is the first word whispered. The next person hears ignorance. The next person hears geonosis. The next person hears diaspora. The next person hears or makes something up and lies. You know, they say Africa. The next person says, okay, well, I hear Africa, but I don't want to say Africa. I want to say freaks, okay? And the next person hears freaks, but, you know, that's the problem with the telephone game. And that, in many ways, is the problem with representative government. So direct democracy bypasses that and says everybody can speak for themselves.
Social media. Right now, you can send a text message to somebody on the continent of Africa. That's something you couldn't even do, 10, 15 years ago. The only way someone in America, for instance, is going to connect with an African is either if that African is in America or by chance they traveled there. And we all know that a lot of Black American people have been petrified to go to Africa. They've had little to no interest to go to Africa, and they had little to no understanding or information of the continent. With the advent of social media, this thing is huge. It's huge. So you're right. Yes, you're right. Yes, the channels are not there currently. No. Everything is not set up. No. There's not a blueprint for everything. No. I can't even tell you how it's going to work out. But I can tell you that we can lay the blueprint right now. And that means that 5-10 years from now, that means the people that are walking in our footsteps will have those resources. someone who lives in America that decides, you know what, I want to pick up and move to Ghana. I want to move to, Senegal. I want to move to South Africa. I want to move to Zambia. I want to move to Namibia. The protocols that we're setting up right now, guys, as the pioneers, this is the groundwork. But guess what?
It all takes freedom, and censorship ruins that freedom. If the lines of communication or the wizard behind the curtain is manipulating the narrative or censoring or shadow banning, that direct democracy cannot succeed. I mean, it can, honestly, because there's still other channels and other avenues. But in the essence of the channel that I'm tuned into, YouTube, if you want to hear this, please go to her channel and listen to it. Thank you for coming to my channel and listening to what I have to say. If you need to speak your mind, that's what was so great about YouTube. But the reason I do almost only videos on YouTube censorship is because that's the most important issue on YouTube. Because how is YouTube great anymore if there's no free and fair communication, or there's interruption, or there's the danger of completely being censored or blocked or kicked off for just simply speaking your opinion or your truth? And that's the danger of YouTube censorship. It has the potential to manipulate the freedom into a narrative control that destroys what truth is.
The first thing that you have to do in any problem that you encounter is acknowledge where you stand. If you don't have knowledge, okay, I tell you guys this all the time. I used to have a deep quest for knowledge of the motherland, okay? I couldn't find the resources in books. I'm definitely an avid researcher. I know how to use the internet. I know how to read books and all that stuff. The information I needed was not available by those channels. A lot of the growth that I've experienced in my knowledge of Africa has come from cultivating human relationships, okay? Because if I go to Google and I ask a certain question, Google doesn't have it. A lot of times people in Africa, up till recent times, they don't depend heavily on technology. They're more word of mouth. They're more, pass the word, recommend. If you need a mechanic, you can type in Google best Ghanaian mechanic in Columbus, Ohio. But you can't ask your Ghanaian friends, and you can't have a chat with them, and you can't send them a Facebook or a WhatsApp message and get some feedback. When I was looking for cake makers in Ghana, I didn't go to Google. No, I went to Facebook because I have lots of Ghanaian friends on my Facebook. I said, who's a good cake maker? Messaged a few people on my WhatsApp. Bam. You guys saw my birthday cake. It was fantastic. Okay? Now, if somebody in the future wants to type in Ghanaian cake makers, guess what? There's going to be a tag because I've innovated that channel. You see, this is where we come in, guys.
As long as it's not censored. And that's the complaint I have.